Okay, welcome into the Frog Factor Podcast post-game show. Welcome into the Frog Factor Podcast post-game show. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done that yet. That's the best way to support the show. We already got Big Tuna in the chat saying fire the staff. We clearly can't recruit or coach defensive players. So I will say, despite that comment, TCU won tonight. They won the game. Right? They won the football game 42-21. And there were a lot of positives in this ball game. The first team offense was basically perfect. That's not hyperbole. They had 6 drives tonight. They scored 6 touchdowns. Josh Hoover was great. Jordan Dwyer was fantastic. Ed Small stepped up and made some plays, had a great one-handed catch in the end zone for a touchdown. So that was good to see. They got him involved in some tunnel screens. Joseph Manjack made some good plays. He had over 100 yards. I saw Jamie Plunkett say after the game he was puking on the sidelines at one point. So despite that, played really well. Michael Dwyer in the chat. I'm guessing maybe that's Jordan's dad. I'm really glad your son's at TCU, sir. He's an elite wide receiver, as you said. He was fantastic. Offense looked really good. And I liked how they ran the ball. Brother. Okay. Thank you, Michael, for chiming in, though. Jordan Dwyer's brother here in the chat. We appreciate him. Glad your brother's here at TCU. He's a great player. They ran the ball fairly well. Kavorian Barnes went down in the first half with some sort of injury. When he initially went down, I thought it was a cramp. I thought he was cramping up. But then the only thing that concerned me, the way he grabbed his leg, he put weight on his leg, he walked off the field. The official word from the team was they kept him out of the ball game for precautionary reasons. But he did get shaken up, injured in some form or fashion. I'll see if Sonny updates us in the post game. That's something to watch because he had a good game once again when he did carry the football. Trent Battle had a good physical run near the end zone. I'm sort of getting away from my point, so I'll rein myself back in. Offensively, this team played really well. First team offense, 6 drives, 6 touchdowns. They converted 3rd and longs, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 11 in the second half. I thought when they chose to run the ball, they did that effectively. I saw some nice things from Jeremy Payne. All of that was good. I do want to get your input, though, and I see some of you already chiming in here. Devil Frog says ACU scored against some very young backups. Okay, yeah, they did late in the game. But let's have a conversation because I am concerned after that defensive performance in the second half, specifically about the defense. Offensively, I thought they were great tonight. I don't have any qualms with that. Defensively, the argument I'll have with you, Devil Frog, yes, in the fourth quarter, there were some young guys up there. In the first half, I understand they did not give up any points. But they gave up a lot of yardage. They did not force a 3-and-out all night long against Abilene Christian. That seems kind of concerning to me. Their defensive backs were struggling. And it wasn't just young guys. You had Avery Helm in there late in the game. He had some issues. Javon McIver, Channing Canada, whether it was pass interference calls. I thought we had a flashback for a second to Gary Patterson's defense. And I know Gary Patterson was a great defensive mind, but follow me here. What I mean is Gary was very adamant when he would talk about corners and secondary play. He wanted his corners to run with wide receivers, and he often would advise them not to flip their head around. And I heard him talk about this, and basically what he would say is, I like my guys to run stride for stride with wide receivers, keep their head facing the wide receiver, and when they see the wide receiver reach for the ball, stick their hand up right there and break up the pass. And if they get called for PI, so be it. That's going to happen. We'll take those penalties from time to time. There were a number of those types of penalties tonight where I thought TCU was in decent coverage, but guys just didn't flip their head around, and they got called for pass interference. There was a 3rd and 7 in the first half where ACU got called for offensive pass interference on a pick play. And so now it's 3rd and 22. And I honestly don't remember what DB it was against, but on 3rd and 22, Abilene Christian converted that for a first down. And then in the second half, I mean, a touchdown drive to start the second half, a field goal, and then another touchdown drive, one more touchdown drive. Zoom play says anyone calling for the coaches' heads is a moron. Yeah, I'm not calling for anybody to get fired tonight, right? Like, that's silly. The team's 2-0. They won. They handled their business. We can throw all the caveats out there. I'm sure the defense was playing mostly vanilla. I would have to go back and look at it more closely. There weren't a lot of exotic blitzes tonight. They were in base coverages for the most part. I understand all that. You're playing an FCS opponent. As Zoom Play says, ACU is a good FCS school. They are. They took Texas Tech to the wire last year. They did. That was a 52-51 game in overtime. Stone Earl, I think it's a solid quarterback. Like, I don't know how he compares to the other quarterbacks on TCU's schedule, but he threw some dimes tonight. And he's been around in college football. He was at Abilene Christian. He went to North Texas. Now he's back at Abilene Christian. They have some receivers that played FBS football. I mean, there's some athletes out there. They had some tight ends that were huge. I don't remember their names right now. But a couple of guys that you're like, okay, that looks, I mean, just physically, that looks like a dude who could go play, Power 5 football right now. But still, the thing that bothered me was I didn't feel like the intensity was there. Eric said hopefully it was more of a mental kind of let their foot off the gas, especially in the second half. And he wishes they looked as solid as they did against UNC, but they didn't. Sure, I mean, you get up. What was the score at halftime? 28-0, I believe. 28. Yeah, it was 28-0. The offense, again, like, they didn't put up 60 points tonight, but they didn't really make any mistakes. Ken Seal threw an interception in the fourth quarter on an underthrown ball, but the first team offense did their job. They were great. They played good football. And so it's possible that the defense kind of got away with a few longer drives in the first half, and ACU missed some field goals. You sort of check out a little bit, and then all of a sudden you look up at the scoreboard and you're like, it's 42-15. Wait, now it's 42-21. I could see that being a thing. I feel like there could be reasons for it. The reason that I'm questioning it or that I'm concerned about it, you play SMU next week. And by the way, SMU not exactly coming off a great performance today as well. They went to Missouri State on the road, fell behind 10-0, ended up winning 28-10. 28-10 or 21-10, something like that. But they didn't look super impressive either. But they have weapons on offense, the skill positions. And the issues I saw in the secondary tonight just gave me a lot of pause. Michael Dwyer says, would ACU beat UNC? I don't know. I mean, if it was, I assume that game would be on the road for ACU. I would probably pick UNC to win. But UNC did not look impressive at all. And I think the defense looked really impressive in that ball game in the season opener. So that was good to see. ACU went on the road to Tulsa and lost 35-7. So Tulsa struggled a little bit more offensively, but defensively they played well. I'm not sounding off alarm bells here. I was just underwhelmed. I felt like this was an opportunity where you could be more dominant than you were on that side of the ball. Big Tuna says Missouri State's FBS. Okay, my apologies. I didn't realize they had made the jump. But still, a road game against Missouri State, kind of a weird scheduling quirk there. I feel like that's a game. I'd have to look at the line. I think SMU is probably favored by more than 17 points, and people didn't expect them to fall behind 10-0. Bottom line, both teams played today, probably didn't play their best football, got out of there with a win, and have some things to work on this week. I just have some concerns when we're talking about this defense and the way they played tonight, specifically in the second half. But let's get back to some more positive things because I do want to highlight the good stuff that I saw tonight. Um, Again, offensively, I thought they played great. Man, Josh Hoover's really good. That's my expert analysis. This is why you pay the big bucks here. Lazy Texan says giving up 400 yards is concerning. Yeah, it is. I mean, they gave up 450 yards tonight. TCU did to ACU. Now, thankfully, TCU racked up a lot of yardage on the offensive side of the ball. Josh made good throws. I guess that wasn't early in the game. Had like a 33-yard pass. Eric McAllister saw him get more involved. I thought Josh's best throw of the night, and chime in here if you feel like there was a better one. He had that dart to Manjack on the first drive that was in contested coverage. I thought his best throw of the night was an incompletion. That ball that he dropped in the corner to Eric McAllister that unfortunately Eric bobbled and tried to like recover a one-handed catch but couldn't quite do it. And they said it was incomplete because he didn't have full possession going out of bounds. But that was a dime, man. I mean, it was on the run too. And that's been a fun development over the past couple of weeks. I said it a lot this offseason. Josh is not going to turn into Michael Vick, right? Like he's not a dual threat guy, and you don't necessarily need him to be. But if he can make plays outside of the structure of the offense, and what I mean by that is if he gets pressured, and sorry, excuse me, I'm watching Notre Dame A&M while this is happening too. Notre Dame's up 40-34 with 150 left in the fourth quarter. But if things break down, whether that's, pass rush gets in your face and you got to get outside the pocket and make a play, or busted play, broken play, you need to improv something, that would be a huge step forward for Josh. And I feel like he's done that through the first couple of weeks of the season. I saw my friend Matt Jennings say on social media, we need to see him do it against a good team. And I'd agree with that. But I think even with the level of competition being what it's been, I've still seen some development in that area that gives me hope. Dylan Miller says, I see Josh being in the NFL next year if he keeps performing like this. Yeah, I said that this week at some point. I don't want to spend a lot of time on hypotheticals and that type of thing. But I do wonder, like, I feel like going into the season, the coaching staff obviously has a better read on it than me. But going into the season, maybe the coaching staff was thinking, hey, a cool thing that we have available to us is we could get 2 more years of Josh Hoover, right? Like we have this year and possibly next year. But the way he's playing right now, I agree with you, Dylan. I think there's a good chance that he could be, possibly in the NFL. Some other things that I liked. Ed Small showed up in a big way tonight, had a one-handed catch for a touchdown, which was good to see. And he was a guy that we heard a lot about during fall camp and in the spring, as he could be an impact player. He had 6 catches, 45 yards, 2 touchdowns. Another freshman that I saw some good things from, John Denman, the freshman running back. He only ended up with 10 yards rushing and 1 touchdown, but he had a kickoff return where he got to the 40-yard line and unfortunately just kind of stepped out of bounds. I thought he was going to get across midfield, couldn't quite do it, but he looked effective there. And he's another one of those guys, last week I was talking about Kavorian Barnes. It seemed like he changed the attitude of this team a little bit and the attitude of this running back room with his ability to run downhill, take contact. He was looking for contact. And I felt like other players, they followed his lead. And I think you see that with Denman. And I mean, if you watch John's high school tape, like he's a big bruising running back in general. But I like that aspect that he brings to the offense. I thought Trent Battle had one of those runs today where he ran over somebody near the goal line. And if you're just joining us, Barnes did leave the game early with some sort of injury. So hopefully he's okay and everything's good there. I'm sure we'll get an update tonight from Sonny. Somebody said, I want to see Terry get more involved. I believe probably talking about Terry Shelton. He had 1 catch tonight for 2 yards. It was on a drag route on 3rd and 5. And I believe he was also the intended receiver on that interception that Seals threw, where it looked like he had a step on the DB, but Ken just kind of underthrew it and couldn't get the ball out to him. Eric says that a number of Big 12 teams on TCU's schedule have had bad performances. Iowa State struggled tonight. Kansas State's obviously kind of a mess. SMU, ASU. Maybe the schedule's not as daunting as it previously looked. I could see that. I mean, I was thinking about that when they put the schedule up there. I'm interested to see what Arizona State does against Texas State tonight, because I do think Texas State's a good team, and how they bounce back from that Mississippi State loss they took last week. Iowa State struggled against Arkansas State. I honestly didn't watch that game today, so I don't know like how that played out and what exactly happened, but I saw that was a much closer game than we thought. And yes, everybody's sort of had those issues. And I don't even know, like, feel free to chime in here. Would you say tonight was a bad performance? I really think it was on one side of the ball. You have some concerns defensively. John Martin joined in. Thanks for joining us, John. He said, we looked awful on defense. I mean, it was bad. It was bad tonight. Like, they shut him out in the first half. If ACU had a functioning kicker, then they could have had 6 points on the board, but they didn't. And to TCU's credit, they had some timely sacks. Nnamdi Obaizor had a sack that didn't drive ACU out of field goal range, but made it a more difficult field goal attempt. Okay, A&M's driving here. If you're curious, Notre Dame's up 40-34 on Texas A&M, but the Aggies are at the Notre Dame 15-yard line with 54 seconds. So I'll keep you updated on that ball game as well as we roll on here on the Frog Factor postgame show. But, yeah, defensively, I thought the tackling left some things to be desired. I felt like the pursuit and the effort wasn't always there. You know, Stone Earl had a play on, I guess it was that last touchdown, or maybe the second to last touchdown, but he scrambled out and pump faked, and they had good coverage at first, but they finally found the tight end in the end zone. I thought the secondary had a lot of issues. Now, one thing about this, it gives this defensive coaching staff some ammo when we talk about, like, teaching these guys, talking to these guys, and in film session tomorrow, as you prepare for SMU this week, it's like, all right, we got to refocus. You know, we got exposed in some different areas, and that hurt us today. Michael Dwyer says the defense has to get off the field. Yeah, they gave up a lot of third downs today, and I think a big part of it, though, is it was, you know, you look at those third downs, it was 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, more manageable. They did give up that 3rd and 22, which was a tough one. But one-on-one passing situations, they lost a lot of those battles on defense tonight. Where it's just like, hey, I'm going to put my corner up against your wide receiver. I think my guy's going to win. They didn't always win. And you would think they'll play less man coverage against better teams. I'm sure that in part that was Andy Avalos challenging those guys and saying, hey, we're going to put you in tough situations. We're going to put you in one-on-one situations where you got to win the battle. And unfortunately for TCU, I don't think they won the battle that often in this ball game. I did want to pass along this note because I'm not sure if everybody was, you know, at the game or if you didn't see this. If you're wondering why McCashlin was kicking tonight on extra points, Kyle Limmerman's hurt. Now, I don't know. Let me pull up his social media post so I can quote him. He did not give a timetable for how long he would be out. Let me see here. Maybe he deleted that post because I feel like I retweeted it and I can't see it. Okay, here we go. Kyle Limmerman. Hate to say it, but I'll be out for a minute with an injury. I'll be working hard to get back soon. Thank you, TCU football supporters, for all the messages. And then he gave a shout out to Nate McCashlin, number 99, who is taking over as the kicker for now. So that's a big deal. Kyle looked good in on field goal attempts in the season opener. But he's not available, at least for right now. And we'll see what McCashlin can do. He looked fine on extra points tonight. as he should. But possibly like need him to make some field goals in pressure situation. Can he do that? That's just a special teams note to pass along. Lerman's going to be out for the foreseeable future. Eric said thoughts on the pass rush. We struggled getting pressure last year. Today it seemed inconsistent despite the 4 sacks. Yeah, they didn't always get home. I felt like when they did, there was usually some sort of blitz involved tonight. Now, on that first drive of the game, Olawale and Deal on second down, they got a good sack. Obizor, I said that earlier, he had a good sack on a third down. I don't feel like it was super consistent tonight, but I'd have to go back and look at how much they were subbing guys in and out, Eric, because it did feel like they were making wholesale substitutions on the D line multiple times during the game. I thought Lindgren struggled, and Martin mentioned that. Connor Lindgren looked bad tonight when he was in the game. Yeah, he struggled tonight in run support and in the pass rush. Michael Dwyer says, does a win over SMU get TCU in the top 25? I think so. I would say, before that loss to Baylor, it would have been a lock. But even still, I think a win at home against SMU, you're 3-0. You've had a couple wins on the national stage. I believe you're a ranked team at that point. And then hopefully you can build for there. You'll turn around and play Arizona State on a Friday night, who won the Big 12 championship last year. So you're going to get some good opportunities in the next few weeks to show how good you are and what you can do. I believe tonight was Sonny Dykes' 100th career win, which is great. And good for him. I think Sonny's a better coach than he gets credit for, and his resume's better than he gets credit for. I'm going to check in and see if he's at the podium yet, if he's done any talking. By the way, Notre Dame A&M, 40-34, A&M getting ready to go for it on 4th and goal. So we'll keep tabs on that. 19 seconds left. So this is do or die for the Aggies right now. Sonny was asked, this is Stephen Johnson from the 4-Star Telegram. He was asked if TCU was looking ahead to SMU. He said he got the sense the team wasn't as focused as it was against UNC. He said he was disappointed with the play of the corners tonight. Some injury updates. Sonny Dyke says Jordan Bailey got banged up on the opening kickoff, which led to more playing time for Ed Small. Well, that's an interesting note. I thought Small was just in the game because they wanted to get him more involved in the passing game tonight, but Jordan Bailey banged up on kickoff return, so they gave Ed a lot of his reps. He doesn't expect injuries to Jordan Bailey, DJ Rogers, or Kavorian Barnes to be serious. Well, that's good to know. You need Kavorian Barnes in this lineup, on this roster as part of this team. And to me, that's the biggest of those three. But I think Jordan Bailey, I talked about him a lot this offseason as a weapon for the squad and just somebody who can be an explosive player. DJ Rogers, that's a big deal. Chase Curtis had a touchdown catch tonight. I like what he can do, but I think you need DJ on the field, especially Kamorian Pimpton was out again tonight. And I'm hopeful that once he gets in the lineup, he'll be effective. And yeah, I agree. I don't think they were as focused as they were against North Carolina. And you would expect that, right? The North Carolina game, goodness gracious, it was on ESPN, standalone game on Labor Day, season opener, all the things. Okay, 4th and goal for Texas A&M here with 19 seconds left against Notre Dame. I'm going to watch this play and talk about it. Oh, my gosh, A&M just scored. Touchdown Aggies. Wow. 13 seconds left. Extra point gives them the lead. Brad's ahead of me. Brad must be ahead of my Peacock stream that I got going on right now. But anyway, A&M just scored to tie the game up against Notre Dame. If they get the PAT, they'll take the lead. That'd be a huge win for Mike Elko. Getting back to TCU, yeah, health-wise, you get out there pretty clean. The Kavorian Barnes news is big. You need him on the field, right? Like he needs to be a part of this offense. So that's good to know that apparently Sonny Dykes doesn't think those injuries are serious. I understand the focus wasn't there. And yeah, some of the scores were there in garbage time. I just feel like I want my defense to play with more edge. I didn't love the attitude and the lack of fundamentals tonight. And really, like, it was just the secondary getting burned. But the positives, your offense was fantastic. And we'll wrap up here in a second. TCU offense was outstanding tonight. Ed Small made some big plays. John Denman looked good. You had some freshmen step up. Jordan Dwyer continues to be a great option on the outside. Need to get Eric McAllister more involved, but hopefully that comes as the season goes on. Manjack had a good game. I really like this receiving core. And honestly, I just think Josh is a really good quarterback too. And those two things being true makes for a lethal passing game. But bottom line, you won the ball game. You handled your business. You won convincingly. It got a little more squirrely than it should have with those late touchdowns. But your TCU Horned Frogs are 2-0. They play for the Iron Skillet on Saturday. We'll have coverage of it all week long, starting on Monday. Thank you guys for joining me on the postgame show tonight. I appreciate y'all. And, yeah, I'll talk to you Monday, Wednesday, Friday, leading up to that SMU game, which is an 11 a.m. kick at the Carter next weekend. Frogs win. They're 2-0 on the season. Good night, everybody.